estamos no ar. Então queres arrancar aí? Eu dou-lhe já o ok. Tá?
All right, great. So I think either a few people had a big night last night or yesterday was so boring that everyone's left Portugal. So one of the two.
On Instagram it was like 10:30 maybe.
Oh, maybe we'll see him at 10:30 then.
Yeah.
Either or, I don't take offence. So what we're going to go through today in this session is we're going to start to talk about how do you actually roll out your song, release strategies. So we started yesterday by going really big and broad and thinking about marketing as the artist. Morning. Going really broad and thinking about how do we market the artist. Then in the afternoon we narrowed it down by figuring out how do you actually market the song at the song level. And now we're down at the song level and we're going to figure out, okay, once you know how to describe your song, where it lives, how do you actually go and roll it out and get streams and stuff. So that's what today's morning session is going to be about. Then we're also going to work on different marketing ideas for our tracks. And so that's going to be a bit of group work after this session. And then in the afternoon, we're going to share all those ideas and we're going to get feedback on those. So before I get started, does anyone have any questions from yesterday or how today will run or anything? Is that, yeah?
Mike.
When you were talking about the Spotify pitch yesterday,
yep.
I didn't get whether it was a pitch to get into Spotify or something specific for playlists.
Yeah, it was to get into playlists.
Okay.
So either playlists that are owned by by third-party curators.
Yeah. So it's basically the kind of the message template you sent to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Awesome. Anyone else got anything they want to add? Yep. Rita.
So yesterday I was trying to do a little bit of the work based on the questionnaire, and it was very interesting. But here's what I've discovered. First of all, that the descriptions of the playlists, I was trying to use those to find playlists that would fit my music. Were kind of unfruitful. Didn't find that many with those specific keywords. Yeah. And the ones that I did find didn't match at all the type of music that I do, but that was interesting. That was interesting. At the same time, those same playlists were made by individuals like with 14 listeners or stuff like that.
Yes.
So not really the type of pitch that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Doing on playlists. So I need to perhaps map out a different strategy. And I guess, of course, if I think about it intuitively, what I come up with is playlists of like modern jazz, like European modern jazz, and then perhaps even modern jazz like from the US. See how that works, what type of music are they editing nowadays, and what type of playlist would be interesting for me, and not so much the questionnaire and that specific song. Maybe I picked not the right song.
I actually think with yours it was a little more difficult because I don't think the people in the room were familiar enough with your music. And so everybody else, I don't know if you saw the spreadsheet, but everyone else had a lot more comparative artists and a lot more comparative songs, whereas yours didn't. Yeah. So what I would suggest with you is don't throw the strategy out because it works. Go and use that strategy and get a collection of friends that know your world a bit better and can point you in a better direction. Because if you can then use tools to research which songs that are similar to you appear on playlists, that'll give you a more direct path. But I think that was the error in your specific situation yesterday. And I couldn't help either because it was an amazing track, but I'm just not familiar with the music.
And also the one person that I was connected to is a person that I understand totally why I'm connected to. She's like one of my biggest inspirations. And at the same time, so I went and looked for her, for audience. And although we're in the same circle, we share the same stages. So it's kind of,
That's perfect.
So I did. But then I figure out it's pretty much she doesn't have much more to offer, at least from what I could gather from her Spotify, than what my search did for me.
Yeah.
So I think I need, like you said,
Yeah,
to go
redo it with
another-
a bunch
yeah.
of friends that know the space a bit
Thank
better.
you.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah. Hi, Greta.
It's more like a study case because from what I saw, the associations and artists connected to the music I showed yesterday, I was not surprised. The names were familiar. And then I thought it works. Like if I want to place this kind of music, it's pretty clear what it is. But a case study question would be, is it possible to break just this circle? Like, they play world music, nice to, I don't know, dance Balkan. If you want to catch another type of public that might even like it, but they don't know it exists, like, is there any strategy you could use?
Yeah, I think the figuring out what the ceiling of your like, I would look at really what the ceiling, like the upper limit of your audience is, and if you've actually achieved that upper limit. So within world music, I would suggest looking at like, what's the biggest artist that you can think of in that space? How much room do you have to grow from that artist to where you are at? If there's significant growth, stay in that lane and use that as ways to build, because there's an audience there that really wants to hear your music. They just don't know about you. It's a lot harder to start to cross over into different genres. But in building up your audience within that genre, people listen to all different types of music. So you'll start to bleed out. You'll start to expand out a little bit more just by doing that. If you are certain that you've hit your upper limit in terms of where you can actually reach within world music, then you would start to look at crossing over into other genres. And the way you do that is by working with other artists in those genres. So pick a pop artist or pick a rock artist. And I'll actually give you a case study of how I've done that in this session. But using other artists' audiences is a really helpful way to cross over. But figure out if you've reached the ceiling yet, because you're going to find it a lot easier to stay in world music for a bit. Cool. All right, we will get cracking. So this session is all about the release and promotion of music. So the way I teach, and I've said it, I'll just get my notes up because I can be long-winded. So the thing with promoting music is that your leverage as an artist is your audience. So if you want to go get a label deal, or you want to go get a manager, or you want to play at a festival, or you want to get on the radio, your ability to bring an audience there is going to be what is going to allow you to get a better deal, basically. I was having a conversation with a label manager 2 weeks ago, and they were actually talking about the fact that they're not even signing new artists anymore. They expect artists to come to them with a fully formed fan base, a full brand, a full audience, and that they can just jump on the train and they can take that artist from 60 to 100. And it makes a lot of sense because the music industry is a lot faster now in terms of the consumption of music because of streaming. And labels just don't have the time or the resources to do proper artist development like they used to do. So if you can come to them with an audience already, you're going to get a much better deal. One of the misnomers around building an audience is this idea that you just go one-to-one and you just collect your audience and your fans one at a time, and that whole idea of 1,000 true fans, and you can just get 1,000 people to spend $100 on you, then you're going to have a really big career. My attitude towards that is that, one, it's really hard to get anyone to spend $100 on you, let alone every single year. Hi, Avi. Second, there's a far more direct pathway to get to an audience, and that's by working with gatekeepers and getting on their audiences instead. And what I mean by a gatekeeper is anyone what I mean by gatekeeper is it's anybody who's a tastemaker within the music industry who has already built up an audience. And your job is just to identify that one person and think of them as your fan rather than the person that actually listens to your music, and go, how do I work with that person in order to get my music onto a much bigger stage and bigger platform? And I'm going to go through all of the different gatekeepers. But when you sign with a label, and my job when I was working at a record label was essentially this, was I would get an artist to come in, I would take them through the branding exercise that we did yesterday, I'd figure out what the story is, what the image is, what the ideas are, and then I'd go, all right, who in my network will like this music and who can potentially blow this music up? And then you just go and you pitch them. And if you can get on, you know, one radio DJ to play you, that's going to put your music in front of thousands and thousands of people, rather than standing on the street handing out CDs and going, please listen to my track, please listen to my track, one by one by one. I don't know if anyone does. One of my students in my course still does that, and I was like, you shouldn't do that anymore. He's like, it's the best way that I market my records. I was like, keep going then, keep going. So if this has happened to you before, has anybody through the process of releasing music found one champion within the industry or not in the industry that's been able to help kind of with the promotion of your music yet? Anyone that runs a venue or does events, publicist, a writer? Yeah, who is it for you, Rita?
Well, it was like this, she was the producer of a big venue, and we had some nice, we were in contact, like close contact, and so she managed to promote our premiere for, hey, we were able to premiere our album on a very big venue. Although they normally, they never premiere albums. So we figured out a strategy to make it work in a certain context. But we were able to premiere our album there. Needless to say that we didn't strategize enough. They had their own marketing team, but I didn't know by then how to leverage the marketing team with what we had so that we could make it bigger than their normal audience, which doesn't go to, normally doesn't go to premieres, for album premieres. And I think that's where we kind of missed the momentum. Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. So anybody else?
Well, there were a few from the label perspective until now. A few Portuguese radio DJs and some bloggers also, but I think three of the where we noticed more a change in listens and was through Bandcamp, where we got 2 records chosen for the new and notable section, and this really, like you saw, like a huge increase in daily listens and even in sales. So for us, Bandcamp has been a game changer in that sense. Although then it falls again, but it never falls quite to the same level where it was before. No, so it spikes, then it crashes, but it crashes a bit over, and I think it's also a process. No, and then we had also a couple of international publications that are not very big, but also brought us a lot of traction, like CDM from Peter Kieran. They published a free sound bank that we released, and that brought us a lot of people. And also, I think, A Closer Listen, a blog called A Closer Listen, that also featured one of our records, and we got a lot of attention from there. So you can definitely see there are like spikes in when some specific people publish you. You see some spikes in activity around your stuff. So,
And what that is, and what you've just described, is exactly what marketing is. It's about getting these spikes in moments, and you have such limited time anyway, so if you can focus those efforts into getting those opportunities and then you'll see the spikes in streams, rather than thinking that you need to do absolutely everything. So the great thing about this approach to marketing is it's very simple, because you actually only need 7 people in order to be able to grow your career. There's really only 7 gatekeepers in the music industry at this moment in 2023 that are important. And does that tell you that they're important, I guess? It's a really easy thing to remember. It's just seven people, and that's what you should strive to achieve. And you can apply this same. It's going to change a little bit for books and for venues and events and stuff, but you can apply the same kind of methodology here. If you think about my 7 gatekeepers, is the Praise You Club. And the Praise You Club are your like cheerleaders, and they're the ones that praise you, they're the ones that champion you, and they're the ones that can put you on a much bigger stage and get your music heard out by a lot more people. Praise You Club stands for, it's an acronym that stands for all of the different gatekeepers in the music business. It's also, which are the promoter. So, and I'm going to go through in each of these, what each of these people do in detail and how you can work with them. But they are people like promoters, so the people who put you on shows, book you for festivals, book you for speaking engagements, book signings, people sitting in the room. Radio DJs, so that's, you know, you're getting played, is what you described, Rita, which is getting played on key radio stations. And that can be internet radio, that can be terrestrial radio, it can be national radio. It's also artist collaborations, so to Greta's question before about how do you cross over, other artists within other genres all have their own platforms and audiences that you can leverage. It's influencers, so influencer marketing, social media, people who have got big followings online and can influence purchasing decisions. Streaming curators, so we spoke, that was yesterday afternoon session, which was all about streaming curators. How do we find them? How do we pitch to them? How do we get in their faces? Editors, these are writers, journalists, bloggers, people that have, anyone within the music journalism space, and you know, magazine editors. And then the last one is your useful mogul. And your useful mogul is a music industry mogul. So it's people who work in the music business that can open up gates and introduce you to these other people. These are people like agents, managers, publishers, distributors, A&R representatives, project managers, creative directors, stylists, videographers, all the people who work behind the scenes, publicists that work behind the scenes to propel an audience, propel an artist, who have built, you know, their own sphere of influence in the industry. I say the word useful because in the music business there's a lot of hot air and a lot of people who promise you stuff. So finding useful people is the goal. So that's how you remember your Praise You Club. If you need another way to remember it, I actually just ripped it off Fatboy Slim. One of my favourite songs, Praise You by Fatboy Slim. So if you can just remember Fatboy Slim, music business. How do I market music again? Oh yeah, Praise You. So I'm going to play a little video about, this is a bunch of my students who came into my course, had been a bit burnt out by trying to manage all the marketing, feeling like they had to do everything all at once. And when I gave them this Praise You framework and I gave them this template and showed them how to work with gatekeepers, this is the type of success that they were able to have. And I just want to show you this because I want to show you how powerful this framework can be and how simple it can be as well.
Like the Praise You idea of just like, you know, over this whole time, it's like, oh, we really have developed a network of people, and really sectioning that out into be like, oh, who are all our contacts? Who are all the people that, and where are we weak? Where are things that we need some help on or we need to reach out to? So I thought that was a really cool, a way I never really thought about it. It's like, of course you need your contacts, your networks. I built the team. But then you're like, okay. And then you're like, also like, who did I lose touch with? Like what promoters did we lose touch with? What radio stations, what, you know, things like that.
I was definitely able to become more like specific with my pitches to everybody. The Praise You Club I thought was very helpful, like figuring out where we actually needed more work within our network. So I live in Washington, D.C., and that's like, networking is crazy here. It's all about like climbing up the social ladders to get a consulting job or something like that. Or in government, like a lot of people try to move their way up through power and everything. So it was really funny to figure out that like your network is so important, as important in the music industry as it is here. So I would say the Praise You Club was very helpful to figure out all the different facets of the music industry that can really help build your brand.
I guess I've heard the follow-up thing before, but to hear it from someone so credible and just get such a hard truth about it, it's like, okay, great. All right, well, we're just pitching left, right, and center, and we're going to follow up until you get told to go away. No, not to that extent.
And have you been told to go away yet?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've done heaps and heaps
Lots
of
of
email
emails.
pitches. And like that's kind of stock standard, I suppose, but it's about our approach. For me, the biggest thing is the perspective shift. Because prior to that, it's like, how can we get what we want? And it still is like that. But you're approaching people with needs, wants, desires who are they're just trying to get by in their life and take their things to the next level.
Yeah.
So it's about really understanding that. How do we bring benefit and value to their lives and enrich them? Because if you can consistently do that, people will just want to support you. They want to pick you up and champion you.
Framing the pitch in terms of the value add you're giving to the person, bringing an authenticity to it, that went a long way, and it had literally immediate results for me in terms of like getting in touch with a publicist I wanted after, a couple of years of trying to find a publicist I thought would be like high quality.
So what he was describing at the end was heir apparent. He had been he'd cold emailed 20 publicists trying to get a publicity firm to represent him, and then he went through the Praise You framework, learned how to pitch properly, which is what we did yesterday. Literally sent the email after this session, and then landed a publicist who represents Jack White and Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin, and away you went. We've got a ton of really great publicity. So where you can just be really targeted with your approach and figure out who are the people who are going to, what are those tiny hinges that swing open big doors. That's the type of marketing that we want to do. So first, I'm going to go through each of these gatekeepers, what they do. As I go through these, I'd like you to think about which area of focus you would like to take. One thing I say with the Praise You Club is you don't need to do everything at once, and in fact you shouldn't. If you don't have a manager or you don't have a team around you, you should only focus on one gatekeeper per release, and every time you release a single, add a different gatekeeper to the mix, and your marketing will get smarter and smarter as you go. So just kind of have it in your brain, like who do I want to go for? Okay, so the first one is promoter. A promoter is somebody who books shows, books venues, runs DJ nights, programs events, programs conferences, stuff like that. So a promoter can be really helpful if you are an artist who would like to build up your live touring business, or you like to speak at different events and speak at different engagements. One of my clients, Hollis Wong-Ware, she is a Seattle-based artist. She recognised she had a COVID release, and we went through this method and identified, she was like, if I can just get people to see me play live, that's when I can convert lots of people. So I'm going to focus on promoters. So she was releasing a record. We were working on the strategy, and then COVID hit, and we were like, oh God, how are we going to go play shows? What she was able to do was really smart. She booked a showcase at an LA venue, and it was her of one of 4 artists on the bill. And she was like, all right, I'm going to use this as my main marketing event. And what she did was she brought a whole bunch of friends to the event. She brought a photographer, she did hair and makeup, got herself glammed up. And then she used that event to capture all of her content. So when we were talking about batching yesterday, it was really smart. So she did all of her press photos, all of her social photos, by just having this photographer there and just capturing everything for her of that performance. It was really high leverage because she had glammed herself up for that one event and kind of went all out for that one event. As a result, and then she brought all of her friends, she made sure all of her friends were posting about the show and tagging the promoter. The promoter obviously got a lot of activity from her particular slot. She was one of 4 artists. She had the smallest profile out of all of those 4 artists, but the most activity. So the promoter then ended up booking her for something else. He had a radio show, so he programmed her song to be played on his station. Then he also introduced her to promoters who ran similar events in New York, and she was able to book shows that way. from there, these photos were also used she was able to secure a Spotify editorial playlist, but it was what I think is really smart about this example was she didn't go, how do I get a few $100 to play a show at this showcase? How do I actually use this as my core marketing, like anchor my whole campaign around this? And she did it really well. Radio. So radio DJs are people who basically run radio stations, either online or either online or national. This is another one of my students, Kiskadee, Jack. He's based out of the UK. He went through this method and then identified that he wanted to focus on radio. What he did was really smart. He pitched himself to this community radio station. It was an online radio station called Voices Radio. And he was like, let me do a residency. And he was able to secure a residency. He'd never put music out before. And so he did his residency, but then he decided, all right, I'm gonna film all this. This is him playing. And what he did was he just programmed it where he had all of his artists that he was listening to, artists that he wanted to work with, put them on his show. He spun his own music, and then he would come up with these like flyers after the fact and put on all the artists that he had played and tagged them online. And then that opened up a conversation with all these artists who were much bigger than him, who really and that he really respected. And that opened up the door for him to be able to ask them, hey, let's collaborate with something. And he was able to actually collaborate with these artists. And then that was a way that he was able to grow his audience really quickly. What I loved about this story was he just really shot his shot. Like, he had never played on radio before. He'd never live DJ'd before. The first time he'd ever played, DJ'd on CDJs was live on air. And he was just like, I'm just going for it. And he did it, and it worked really well. So other artist collaborators. I mentioned this story yesterday, but this is the Crystal Casino Band, another one of my clients from Washington, DC. They were just in the video. They were doing the streaming pitching approach that we spoke about yesterday afternoon. They recognised that there was this other artist called Divine Sweatshirt that kept appearing in the same playlist that they were appearing in. So they reached out to them and they were like, hey, let's collaborate here. You've obviously got contacts, we've got contacts. Let's share resources. So they did, and they built a spreadsheet of playlist curators on Spotify, influencers on YouTube, influencers on Instagram, and they would just go and pitch their music to each of them. As a result, they were able to get their track to past 1 million plays just by doing that. But then that opened up an opportunity to collaborate with them and make a track together, which ended up being both bands' biggest streaming success because they had such a large audience crossover. Influencers. So influencers are people on social media who have built up audiences. This is a client of mine, Cubsport, who are a queer four-piece band from Australia. I spoke about them yesterday, the Kardashians of pop music. They had a track out called Hawaiian Party. It didn't have a video or anything, and one of the Dolan twins, these two gentlemen up here, are YouTube influencers or YouTube creators. They had tweeted about the track, or they had shared the track, and the band were really smart, and they jumped straight onto it, and they reached out to them and they're like, hey, this person's got a big audience, what can I do here? And they went to them and they said, hey, we don't actually have a music video for this track yet. Do you want to direct it? And they were like, hell yeah, we want to direct a music video. Because for the Dolan twins, who usually, because they're influencers, they do brand work. And brands are so risk averse, particularly in today's climate in cancel culture. Brands don't want to do anything. And so, but they're really creative. And so they were like, oh, this is awesome. So this gives us an opportunity to flex our creative muscle and do something that's a little bit more ambitious than our brand work. So they directed the video. Cubsport flew over to LA to shoot it with them. It was just a really simple narrative love story video with all different types of couples in the video. And then Cubsport were the band that were playing at the party at the end, where all the couples kind of came and went. You know, you've seen that rom-com you've seen that story before. The difference here though was the Dolan twins, because they're influencers, they've got all their influencer friends and they directed it. So they cast all their mates who had loads and loads of following. and they created something that was really special. The audience crossover of both bands, so both the Dolan Twins are gay, as are the Cub Sport. There was a big crossover in that audience. So when they actually made this video and they were talking about love and inclusivity for all, it resonated so much with both audience bases. And yeah, seeing some of the responses, which is just the reactions to the video hitting really hard. Seeing this video is helping people be comfortable in their own skin and being happy with their true selves makes me happier than words can explain. What a beautiful video. It's so heartwarming to see two guys show so much support for the LGBTQ plus people when not many in the industry do so. So much love to you all. Thank you for this. This message is needed now more than ever. What I love about this example is a lot of people think that influencer marketing is let's just get some hot girls in a video dancing to my track, and it does nothing for the artist because their followers are just looking, they're just looking for dancing videos or makeup videos. But what was smart about this was there's a crossover in the message about LGBTQ plus issues. Streaming curators, I'm going to breeze through this because we smashed that yesterday. Oh yeah.
Can I ask a question right now?
Sure.
Yeah. So, in the influencers, the way I'm trying to understand, like, how do you approach them, and also with like, let's say you've identified that okay, maybe this is the guy who would like my music and would like to do something with it, or and what would be their expectation to do from us as an artist, like. In return, like, would it be monetary? Would it be so?
It depends. So in Cub Sport's example, it was about artistic freedom and artistic license. There was no money exchanged here because they were fans of the track. In other scenarios, I've worked with other artists who there's no connection or no relationship. So for there, it's just a straight fee and they're just getting paid. I think it depends on what your pitch is, what you're asking them to do. What their relationship to you is. Have you warmed that up, or is it completely cold? And then what's the opportunity for them? So if you just go and pitch and they've never heard about you and you send them a press release cold, there's a really good chance they're going to write back going, yeah, cool, my media kit is $500 and you get this, and cool, you want to do this or no? But if I have found if you can come at it more human to human, less like email account to email account, and you're working with people who are genuinely fans, it can be helpful. If you're sitting there and going, I don't have any fans, and I don't know any of these people, start to support their work and think about what you can offer them, and don't think about YouTubers with 1 million subscribers. Think about people at a lower level, like 10,000 subscribers, 20,000 subscribers, people who don't get pitched all the time and don't have managers, and who want to. What I found with influencers is like, you as the artist, you have a lot of artistic freedom to offer them, which can be leveraged. Also think about places like advertising agencies, people who are working in creative fields but working on stuff like branded content that don't give them a lot of creative license. You'll find a lot of people are up for directing a music video or doing a shoot with you or something to build their portfolio as well. I think with you and your music as well, listening yesterday, you've got other things to offer, like, hey, I can score one of your videos if you want. Or like, hey, I noticed that you do these kind of cinematic unboxing videos or cinematic like travel videos or something like that. Let me offer you my music, and then and if you just credit me and stuff, like think about what's the give get, rather than just like, I can pay you and you can do your thing. There are also other companies, like Thematic is one, which they are like a playlist push, but for YouTube creators. So what they do is they've got a whole bunch of creators that they work with, and then what they'll do is they'll provide free music, like a library that they can, that those influencers can use, and that's a way that you can get your music just at least used in videos. But you'll find it's that can be useful to get it out there, and it's a good way to like dip your toe in the influencer marketing world. Streaming curators, I'm not going to go over because we did that yesterday. Editors, so editors of music journalists and music bloggers, music writers, photographers, show photographers, anyone that works within the media space. This is one of my students who went through this program, identified that he wanted to go after editors. He was an electronic artist. Electronic music is historically very, very competitive because the barrier to entry is lower and can often be faceless as well, particularly because of what the live show environment is. So he was like, I want to get press so I can start to give more of my profile out there, get more of storytelling out there. We worked on this. What we figured out was a good area for him to go after is Twitch channels and the shows that there's lots of like electronic music shows on Twitch, and so he picked them, got an opportunity to go on his Twitch channel and talk about him as a songwriter, and then that person even went and promoted his track, and so he just kept using that as a strategy to backdoor his way into different editors. But editors are a really good way to get your story out, to populate the first page of Google when people are discovering you on streaming playlists and they're like, who is Goya? Go there. Okay, this is, they appear on these types of publications in this world. This is the white space they exist in. And then last is useful mogul. So your useful moguls are people like agents, distributors, A&R people, anyone that works within the industry. They can be really helpful in introducing you to any other ones of these Praise You members. They can also be really helpful if you want to get a label deal or you want to start to assemble a team together. And then also they can be really helpful for things like licensing music, sync, getting into film and television, all the people on the back end that are kind of pulling the strings. As I said, the music business is still very much a relationships business. There is a whole bunch of people between you, the artist, and the end fan, and the way that fan ends up finding your music, and it's all these gatekeepers. And if you can just find them, knock them down, you'll get to those fans, and you get to a big, big pool of fans, and you're going to grow a lot faster. So I'll play you one more video of just what this can kind of do for your marketing when you take this approach, as opposed to thinking that you need to kind of do absolutely everything. And what was the results? How did this rollout feel compared to the other ones?
This one felt it felt much better in the way that I was more relaxed about it. I trusted the process, and I saw that sort of release day boom at a much higher level than other releases.
I feel empowered. I feel like it's it feels like there's like no shortage of things to do, but there's actually like a small amount of things you can do every day that will like progress you in the right direction.
I am excited about I am excited at this point in my career, and Deep Cuts has been a big part of that, a really big part of that. It's been my go-to for like, okay, in this big world of like so many different voices about what should you be doing, and sometimes conflicting information about what artists need to be doing, and the general impression, and this is the worst thing, you could be getting good advice from different places, but it conspires to become this overwhelming, unclear, general message. It's just like, bloop. One thing for sure, you aren't doing enough. Feel bad. I think it's been a confidence boost for me too, because I've realized being in the course how much I do have to offer. I mean, something you talked about is going from being a hobbyist to a headliner.
Yeah, so understanding like, okay, this is how the music business works, and these are the dominoes that need to fall. These are the doors I need to break through to get to where I'm trying to go, and just like so. It just makes me a lot more focused and and a lot more hopeful that it's not some unattainable, far away, pie in the sky thing, but it's like, no, these are concrete things that I can do, and I can just continue to chip away and improve upon, to get the results that I want.
All right. So the thing with marketing is that, and the thing about all of these different gatekeepers is, When you sign to a label, that's essentially what a marketing plan is. So the promise of this 2-day masterclass was that you're going to learn how to put together a release plan. This is what a release plan is. If you sign to a label, you're going to have a touring and live plan. So you're going to be like, when are you going on tour? What shows are you playing? Which markets are you playing in? You're going to have a radio plan. Which stations are we going to with what track in what timing? You will figure out, you'll have some kind of artist collaborations. So that will be remixes of your track when it comes out. It'll be guest vocalists, guest features, content played with each other. It will be also like supporting other artists on tour. You'll have an influencer marketing plan, a digital plan, a social media plan. How do you roll out your album on social media, and who are the partners you're going to use? You're obviously going to be pitching to streaming, which we went over yesterday. There will be a press plan, a plan to get media attention, and then you're also going to be networking and building up your industry contacts as well. What will happen at this point is, if you don't focus on building out each of these areas of your artist project and your artist business, you end up becoming lopsided in one area. And that can be very dangerous, because if you overinvest in one area, so for example, if you go, I just want to get streams. I think we spoke about one of these artists yesterday. Whereas like they've got loads and loads and loads and loads of streams, but then you look at their social media and it looks fake. Like there's no engagement there. These type of artists will get into the problem where they can get lots of streams, but they can't sell any tickets, so they can't sell merch, or they can't get an audience to go and do anything. And there's not a lot of money in streaming, unfortunately. And so you're going to be looking at, if you're making music in the business, you're going to be looking at other opportunities, selling catalogue, playing shows, all that kind of stuff. If you overinvest in one area and you ignore, overinvest in streaming, you'll be one of those artists that could get the streams but can't sell tickets. Or I've got other artists on the total flip side of that who were really good at social media and built themselves up on social media, but no one really cared about their music. They wanted to just look at thirst traps. And they're like, yeah, the chick's really hot. Show us more hot photos. And we're like, listen to the music. And so you've got to figure out, that's why you need everything kind of working together. Or other artists, this will fall into this. This is more of a problem for artists who were around before the streaming era, but who have a lot of critical acclaim, and can get a lot of PR and media attention, but that doesn't move the needle. So I've worked with artists who can get reviews on Pitchfork, NME, like a Rolling Stone, no problems. You don't even see any uptick in the streaming or the social audience or tickets or anything like that. It's all, pardon?
And why is that? What can make that situation go around?
Because the volume of traffic to music blogs and websites is so low these days, and that information is distributed through social media, and social media runs, the whole business model runs on clicks. So the more famous you are, the more that information, like, you're going to be more. Pitchfork went to, I'll never forget, when they started covering Taylor Swift and the Kardashians, and it was like, they're doing it because they need the retweets and they need the shares and stuff. And so if you're an artist who just gets PR, there's not enough traffic driver to those .coms anymore. The traffic is in social media and streaming. And so what will happen is they'll get a really expensive music publicist, who will do a really great job and get into all these trade publications, and the campaign will look really good, but there's no activity on the back end. It's all kind of happening in that vacuum.
And could you say maybe that would then, but that could help leverage towards when you're reaching out to influencers or promoters, or more than to the general public?
Definitely.
Because it's been my experience that people who want to get you for something, that they always feel reassured by seeing certain names, like, oh, you went to this school, or you've appeared in this blog, or you've been covered by this journalist, or...
Definitely. It's a way you build out your bio and your EPK, but it's a way that you knock down these other gatekeepers. So in having all of these working together, what I guess my point of this whole section is, you can't just have one firing at the one time. You use all of them as like a domino effect. But I would say with editors and publicity, that really helps for promoters, and it really helps with artist collaborations as well, and a little bit with useful moguls, depending on who it is. But yeah, it's a good kind of gatekeeper. It's also a good way to just populate the first page of Google, just to make it
Sorry, but did I understand wrong, or did you say that with each release you should focus on one?
Yep. So
Yes,
with
no.
each release, focus on one. And the reason being is because there's too much work to do as one person, and you are much better, your campaigns will be stronger if you can execute a plan rather than trying to do everything and then not getting anything done. And so most people, or actually, who's releasing singles just by show of hand? Singles instead of albums. 1, 2. Who's releasing an album? 1, 2, 3, 4. With those albums, are you releasing singles with them, or are you just going to release the whole album? Okay.
Well, we did we did make a single, but we didn't know how to leverage it. So we do have the content though.
Yeah.
For one of the albums. So yeah, I mean now
Yeah.
I have a clear perspective of what I should have done with the single.
Yeah. When you release this album, will you promote singles before the album, or?
Not really. I was
Not
doing
really.
it. I was doing it at the same time because,
Yeah.
well, because we we used the digital release news to also release the single.
Mm.
We thought that would be a good strategy instead of spreading it out. That we concentrated energy and attention on this one moment. Well, we're going to release this. This will be available on all digital platforms, and here's like a hint of the type of work that we do. So
Yeah. The way I recommend people promote their music, particularly if you're starting out, is start with singles first and then roll that up into an album project. And then with each single that you release, focus on one of these different gatekeepers. And so if you decide, and on single number 1, I would focus on streaming curators, because that's the gatekeeper that everyone's looking at mostly. So I'd go, all right, single number 1, I'm just going to get my streaming right. And I'm going to decide I'm going to work with a middleman agency, and I'm going to get my pitch right. I'm going to do that exercise that we did yesterday. I'm then going to like go all in and pitch like crazy, and I'm going to try and see how many followers I can build on Spotify, streams I can get through playlists, and just see how that goes. All the work you'll do to get to that point, you can then use it in your next release. And you go, okay, great. Those 10 curators, they were worth my while. They played my song, and that got me streams. So I'm going to pitch to them. That's not going to take you very much time anymore because you haven't needed to research them and develop the relationship. That's just an email. But then you might go, all right, I'm going to work on influencers, and I'm going to try and apply the same approach that I did with the streaming curators, and I'm going to build out a social media plan. And so then single 2, you're going to be streaming and influencers. Then on single 3, you're like, okay, cool, that worked. So I'm going to go out to those same influencers, those same streaming curators, and this time I'm going to add press into the mix and see how that goes. And what will end up happening is every time you release music, your marketing is going to become smarter, and you're building essentially a marketing system and an engine that will power you. And I say this, especially if you're doing everything yourself, you want to make sure that everything that you do is building on the last thing. You're not starting things and stopping, and you want to make things easy for yourself, so you're compounding all that work that you're doing in that effect. And so that's the reason why I say focus on 1 per release, with the idea that with every release you're bringing all that other marketing work that you've done along with you. You're not disregarding it. So by single number 7 or the album drop, you have everything working at the same time, and that is essentially what a label would do for you. So at this moment, what I suggest, or what I always propose to students, is from here what you do is you rank your Praise You Club. So you draw this nice little graph out, spider graph, or you just put a number in here from 1 to 5. 1 being you have no relationship with anyone in these categories, and 5 being you have a really strong relationship, like you could text someone and they would probably do something for you. And I'm going to give you kind of a few minutes to talk about I'm going to give you a few minutes to write this down for yourself, and then we're going to go around the room, and I want everyone to share the area that they're the strongest in. And this is just a ranking. It's not, you don't know 5 people. It's just like, I have a good relationship, so therefore give it a 5. And then, yeah, as you continue to do marketing, what you want is to have all systems firing. I'll just give you just a moment, one moment. Wow. Anyone want to share?
Sure, it's pretty easy for me. It's a 1 for everything,
Yeah.
because I don't know anyone.
Okay, great.
And that's one of the reasons I'm here, just to try to connect with new people and maybe find some like-minded people that could help me out. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, great.
So for me, it's kind of low too. I only would say artists would be the highest because I kind of know a few of them.
Perfect.
And I feel that if the music speaks to an artist, even if you don't know them,
Definitely.
it can be like a very deep connection, like right away.
Yeah, so if I were you, I'd write out all of those artists that you do know and just make sure, keep sharing the music with them and think about what are ways that you can collaborate, who can remix a track, and keep those relationships good. But I couldn't, I agree with you more, like, yeah, it's an artist.
Yeah, by the way, although I know a lot of artists, I don't know how to reach them, which is a different kind of issue, right? And I already tried reaching them through Instagram, got no replies, especially some singers which are inspiring to me. But they're so big that didn't reply, so yeah.
Yeah.
So mine is a bit. It's not. I can't just reduce it to one thing. I guess for promoters, because of the both of the works we put them out through small labels, but they did help us with that promoting, like getting small show. It's all a very small scale, but it kind of works in the scene.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. So there's no one's going to go straight to Live Nation and be like, put me on MSG, and you're like, no. But you know, like, it's once you're building out your scene, and that builds and builds and builds. Yeah, it's great.
Then for radio, we did get some people to, both we and ourselves and the label. People also got some of our tracks to play in small Portuguese radios, but we don't have that. The contact is not very developed yet, so like we don't have anyone that's an immediate contact to play our stuff. But it did work in the past.
But you've had the history, so you can go back to that station and be like, you played on this art, and build that relationship out.
Then for artists, every artist that we tried to collaborate with through, like, we reached a couple of artists that we thought could connect to our music through Instagram, and all of them accepted working with us. But
It's amazing.
It just didn't happen yet, both because we are not that organized.
Keep stoking the relationship and keep sending.
Yeah, but it does work well. Just sending a message through Instagram and saying you enjoy their music and sending them your music as well. It does. For us, it worked at least. I guess you have to kind of target people you know are gonna connect, though, both in terms of the kind of their style of music or whatever, and the size of their project as well.
Yeah.
I guess the lowest for us is influencers. I don't know.
I think you have got so much potential in the categories that you've just listed.
Yeah.
I would just keep pushing on those categories.
Yeah. And then for streaming curators, my friend who's working with me on the project did try to do that strategy you were talking about yesterday of to playlists, and he got us a couple of features.
Great.
They're not huge playlists, and I think they're not, because he was, I guess he didn't, because he didn't know the strategy, but he didn't kind of nail the pitch that well.
Mm-hmm.
He did get us into some kind of weird core playlists, but I guess we fit into more a brand kind of space. I don't know. In terms of editors and useful moguls, I guess through the labels as well, we do manage to get some of those.
That's awesome. That's really great.
It's interesting because we all make different kinds of music, no?
Yeah.
So it's also interesting to hear what are your experiences here. And I would agree with you and with Sebastian, I think, like for us with artists, it's also worked pretty natural.
Yeah.
Because while traveling and playing around in festivals, you meet people that want to play with you. And then you also share it to help. The radio, I don't know if it counts, but we attacked podcasts.
Yeah, that absolutely counts. Yeah,
that works. And there we were also kind of successful. Like, okay, we send them the music and they show it in the world music scene. And the same for influencers. We didn't even try. I didn't think about it. And for producers and editors, neither. But we didn't even think about it. Same for streaming. Like, we never used the strategy you mentioned yesterday.
Yeah.
But we should. And for useful moguls, in the niche and the area where we are active, it worked as well.
Yeah.
People who know people, and then they put you in some festivals or productions, but it's not worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it's different for like design and books, as in things like streaming curators or maybe radio is not the same thing, but I do recognize the other artists is what's going to be like natural to you because they are your peers. And then of course if they're much more famous than you, it becomes but of course you start out with a group of people already in school, and so I don't know, I feel like that's been kind of constant, of course, of being around. I also feel that over time, if you stick around, these artists are also who in part morph into like the influencers and the useful moguls. Like if you keep a bit of track on where everybody's going, like and of course it's much easier to reach out to someone that you went to a party with 15 years ago and it was such a good party that they for sure remember. And then even if a lot of time passed, then it's going to be much easier to make that connection, I think.
Yeah, in our case as a label, also very small scale, no? So this is all relative, not absolute values. But yeah, I think also artists are probably one of our biggest strong. And also because we host a lot of artists, so we promote a lot of shows and small festivals, and we're running a label, so we're kind of connected to a lot of artists, not only as collaborators, but also as people that we are actually hosting them and creating also space and conditions for them to develop themselves as artists. So I think there's a kind of mutual respect also around this. Promoters also kind of, but mostly also at a very niche level, because also many of these artists are also promoters of their own small venues and small festivals and stuff. So this is kind of something that also grows inside these more underground circles, no?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that if one of our acts, for example, goes touring, it will be very easy to find these small venues that all these artists that we've hosted that are running, and that they are interested more or less in the same kind of music and shows than us. Radio, we've had actually a lot of support from national radio, not in playlists, like in radio playlists, these things that are playing all day long and that you can hear it like. So most of the radio DJs that play this, although they are our favorite radio DJs in the country, but they play it once or twice and that's it. And so like, yeah, it's also kind of a one shot. So, but it's nice to hear your favorite radio show and some of your stuff is there. No, is always a pleasure. And concerning influencers, like who are these people? Like, and what do they talk about? And what are their interests? Like, I don't know. Like, for me, it's like even the word, it kind of makes messes it up. But okay, so I think we're on. Of course, some of our friends and people we work with can be considered influencers in some way, but yeah, I don't know. It's a weird world for us.
Sure.
And well, streaming curators, I would say like almost zero.
Yep.
Because it's something that we haven't really tackled. Editors, yeah, we had some. We were talking before about this. We had some people giving some attention to our stuff. So I'd say maybe a 3, and then useful moguls around 3 also. So yeah, because of our activity in different areas, we've been able to connect like professionally and personally to a lot of people who work in the industry in very different sides. Some we are completely off, like publishing and sync and stuff, which would be nice also to tackle. Some we are more connected to, but of course always in considering always the scale of this. No? You gonna go on?
I would also say you just put on this event with 28 speakers, so I'd say your useful mogul contacts are probably a lot bigger than you think.
I think my strongest is the streaming playlisters. That's something I've been doing for each release consistently, and it's given me results, good results for a couple of releases. There's one of my track that actually I saw that it got playlisted by at least 20-30 independent playlisters, and in a week's time it was on an editorial playlist.
Nice.
And then like 2, and then so this is my guess, but I think the algorithm works that way that if you make it to the independent playlisters, then my weakest would be radio and influencers. Radio, because I think I still haven't been able to crack what would be the right place to send my music.
Yeah.
And I think I'm constantly fighting with this thing that like my music, my natural audience is not around me physically. Like, they're not the people who listen to this kind of music. And, when you go to like, even if I was to play a live shows mostly demand this dance vibe. And my music doesn't have that. So, and this is also what I realized. I was just listing down my promoters, and I realized that, okay, I know a lot of people in the industry who can get me gigs, but are they the right people? Like, or is that the right venue to perform? Or, so.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're performing your music in a place which is not meant for that kind of music, or it's so I guess I think editors vary with each release, but yeah, I know my list of editors to send my music to, but
Yeah.
it's the results are different for every
Yeah.
release. Yeah.
It's great. It's a really good start. Okay, so as you're thinking about your release plans and release schedules, just think about where are you strongest, and for this next release, just focus on the area that you're strongest and try to get that bigger. Because I think the path of least, always choosing the path of least resistance is best when it comes to marketing, which is like, where have you already got traction? Use that traction to peak higher, and then use that height to bridge out. So we just kind of did that who we focus on. What I'm going to do is we're going to do an exercise now where we're going to go back to working on this. Does anybody have any questions before we move on to brainstorming ideas?
Well, I was thinking about influencers again. I'm not really sure where to knock with the type of stuff that we do. Honestly, I'm lost. It's really hard because we're not in the mainstream area at all.
Yeah.
It's more of the cultural art scene, and I see that we have leverage. I mean, we're known in our scene. Again, it's a matter of scale, and but it doesn't reflect on media because this scene itself is not that made of this type of. I mean, it seems like influencers don't talk about our music because influencers wouldn't listen to our music. I'm guessing. I might be wrong. So I'm guessing that what I understand as an influencer is a little bit perhaps different from like the mainstream influencers you see on TikTok and stuff like that. So I'd say perhaps I was. Now that I'm talking about it, I think that I was lost because I had this stereotype of influencer, which is never going to fit the type of stuff that we do. But if I shift into another mindset, which is, you know what, people that talk about books and they're influencers on they might be interested in talking about this type of artistic development. And not so much the hot girl that's wearing makeup. She's not going to promote, the music that we do. But it's just a matter of who do I target as an influencer and what do I perceive as an influencer that just had a shift in my perspective. Yeah. So, well, I'm gonna be much more attentive now towards what is the type of influencers that could help us. And I guess the same applies to the streaming. Yep. I'm not sure that I was looking in the right place, and I'm getting a clearer perspective of who would be the people interested in streaming our music. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it was just a reflection. Yeah.
Just think about gatekeepers as tastemakers, anyone who's got an audience. And there are people that will listen to your music. Just try to don't get stuck in the terms of what it could be. It doesn't. Yeah, an influencer is literally anybody who's built a platform, who's a fan of you.
But I guess it's just the example that you gave of the person that will send you like an offer saying my media package is na. I don't think in underground music these kind of people exist. I do think tastemakers exist, but you're not going to find like you say the kind of unboxing video makeup tutorial kind of well, maybe if it's specifically a queer makeup tutorial or like something that's somehow different from the mainstream, but so then I don't think it's exactly the same dynamic because you need to convince people that what you're doing is nice and that they just like it for liking it and feel behind it and want to share it, but it's not going to be this sort of commercial transaction, I imagine. I don't know.
I was wondering if you maybe know a little bit of how like bands like Black Midi, I don't know if you know them.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it was a damn it, or Squid. The very experimental bands, but also post-punk and
yeah.
And I feel they do like the music they like, and they are getting like very successful. Yeah, but maybe I'll research on myself.
Yeah, I would say this framework works across all genres, because all you're trying to do is just find the people who can open doors, and you're just trying to find who are the people. You're almost mapping out your scene and your world, and who are the people who have built audiences around your type of music, and how can you work with them. I don't know. I haven't worked on experimental music before, so I don't know that world specifically, but I know in my course I've got classical artists, jazz artists, hip hop, pop, electronic, like the gamut, and this kind of works for them. It's just about doing that research and doing that digging.
You would say it would apply to any kind of music?
Yeah, definitely.
It could be, okay.
Yeah, because there's not any, to my knowledge, any genre of music that's a complete vacuum where it's like no one listens to it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's people that write about experimental music. There's people who playlist experimental music. There are people who, make shows around it. Like if you know that type of music, there are gatekeepers that are promoting that type of music. Okay, so I want to move on to now. We're going to do ideas. So by show of hands, who has music that they're planning to promote? Just so I know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, great.
I can add a book, right?
You can add a book? Okay, great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we can do 3 groups. All right, so we're going to do a brainstorming exercise. We're going to do it for half an hour together here, all together, just so I can show you how it works. And then we're going to split off for an hour before lunch. Does anyone want to go get coffee or water first before we do this? Yeah, go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to work on different promotional tactics. So I'm going to give you an exercise. I used to do this when I was working at advertising agencies. This was a tactic that we would use, or an approach we would use to trying to come up with ideas that would kind of cut through. And I found that this is the approach. It's basically like a lateral thinking exercise. It's really fun as well. But what we're going to do out of this session is work on ideas for each other's releases. And then in the afternoon session, we're going to just present kind of the 1 to 2 best ideas that you like. And then myself and one of the other speakers are going to give feedback on that. So it's a good opportunity to think about what's a creative and interesting way to release your record. We're going to use a Goya track for this example. And I'll play the music again, just so we've got a little bit of a refresher. Where is it? Here we go.
Should we further down actually?
Yes. Let me just...
That's the...
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Let's have a listen again. I might not be connected to audio. No, not connected to audio. Do you want to play off yours?
From the laptop? Or?
Yeah, from...
Okay.
Oh, maybe it's just my. Do I need to output here?
External headphones, actually.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sweet.
You could go ahead if you like, if it takes a while to grow.
It's right here. Beautiful. All right, so what we're going to do is we're taking the information that we took yesterday, which was from our, that's not it, which was from our playlist ideas and the moods that we set out in that exercise here. So everyone's got access to this document. What we're trying to do is come up with different stimulus in order to be able to come up with some ideas. So the way I'm going to run it is, what we do is we take our playlist ideas. So what this should have given you is a picture of that sound, where it exists, what type of playlist, just as a stimulus. Then we also have the mood. So that's the mood of the tracks that we also identified. What you're going to do is you're going to take something from this column and then something from this column and match it together and use that as a creative stimulus to come up with an idea. So you might go a journey into outer space, but make it dance. What would an idea be of a dancing journey into outer space? Or a creative writer's block first aid kit, but for travel. And then what would that come up with? What would you come up with that? Or I'm working at night, which is usually sad, but it's uplifting. What would an idea be like that? You can choose any one from this list and anyone from this list. It's whatever kind of speaks to you. But all you're trying to do is kind of uncover unique and creative ideas. Now we need to focus those ideas, because we can't come up with an idea of like an indulgent journey into outer space might be literally getting a seat on Richard Branson's like jet into the moon. And so that's not going to help the promotion of the track. What we need to do is come up with promotion tactics first. So as a group, we're going to fill this column in. The thing with the music industry is promotion tactics never change, and they've been the same since like the 70s. You'll play a show, you'll make a music video, you make deluxe vinyl, limited edition merch. They're all the same. It's the creative wrapper that you put on that is what makes it feel fresh. So throw some names out to me. What are ways that people promote records? I'll start. Music video. Anyone else? We've spoken so many about these in the last couple of days. An interview, yep.
Blog, you can talk about the stuff yourself in the first person.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Podcast.
Getting into trouble with authority.
Be controversial. Make controversial statements or
get arrested.
Yeah, like giveaways, for example.
meet your fans.
Merch or physical object?
Yep.
Also what we discussed yesterday about tapping into the cultural discourse of the moment.
Yep. Remixes.
Big party.
Yeah.
Influencers.
Release party.
Exclusive parties.
This thing that Sarah was mentioning, this exclusive listening, no? That
Mhm.
invite press and stuff.
Okay, this is a good list. I also have ones down here too, which you'll have access to. But things like pre-save promotions, digital ads, artist collaborations, influencer partnerships, pop-ups, appearances, short-form content. So what we're going to do is we'll take a couple of these, we'll try different ones. So we'll do giveaways and contests. Put that up here. Merch and physical objects. Concert/tour. And let's put in remixes, covers, guest vocals. So what you're going to do is you're going to take, we're going to do this really fast. So does everyone have paper and a pen or have access to a paper and a pen? You can go online, that's fine. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to come up with as many ideas as possible. I want you to all, anyone want to focus? Any one of these particularly interesting to anyone? Music videos? Okay, great. Let's all brainstorm music video ideas.
For this specific track.
For this particular track, using inputs from here and here. So I want you to come up with it can be anything. It could be writer's block first aid kit, meditative music video. What would that look like? Or like actually, let's not bar you in too much. You can choose any promotional tactic that you want, that comes naturally to you, and then just think about matching one of these and one of these, and just use these two as like stimulus to come up with as many ideas here. When you're doing this, do it as a stream of consciousness. Just whatever comes out of your body. Don't try to think, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Is this effective? Does this work or not? You just want it all out of your body and come up with as many ideas as possible. I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. And the reason why we want it to be fast is because that extra time pressure will help you get to better ideas. So I'm putting 3 minutes on the clock, and I want you to write as quickly as possible. And we're going. And I'm going to play the track again just for reference. Okay, well done. Now, we're going to go around the room and I want you to just share one idea with me. Just the strongest idea that you came up with. Just one. And Greta, we'll start with you.
So I have decided for concert or tour for work at night, meditative, and the idea is to have a special tour in very specific places like either planetarium or museum or or a church or any unusual space for a concert where people could work during they have the music
cool.
or not, or they could chill. So co-working spaces in nice places are also an option, and nature, like parks at night, but always at night. And people could either be working or relax in hammocks or yoga mats. And yeah, they would be offered like relaxing tea, and the light would be dimmed, or even candles. And yeah, this kind of, especially the venue makes a big role.
Yep.
You can enjoy like nice acoustic or nice view while listening to the music.
Epic. Love it.
Well, the idea was that you would play on a truck, but so the tour would be the road, like the road trip.
Yep.
And you would stop in specific places, like beautiful places with beautiful landscapes, and you make like a kind of a pop-up show, and then you could, so people could come in and they could either meditate. It's an invitation into meditation or into dancing, either or. And then you could call for each of those pop-ups a different singer to collaborate with. And you could make a contest in which you would pick the singer to collab with, like online, through TikTok, for instance, because there's so many singers, like, you know, doing their stuff there, like showing as a solo singer, so they could do a collab with you. And so for each person who would participate on one of those pop-ups, you would record that specific collaboration, you would give them as a, you know, like an exclusive content of participating on that one specific event with that one specific singer.
Awesome.
And it would be sunset.
Of course. Why not? It should be sunset. Yep.
So for me, an anti-gravity live show. So basically,
Sick.
it will play in a zero gravity chamber. And the technical aspect of that doesn't matter at this stage. You're throwing out ideas,
No, it
right?
doesn't. Yeah, no, it really doesn't.
Yeah. And the footage could be used for a music video. So yeah.
There was one of my favorite music videos of all time was shot in an anti-gravity, and it's mind-blowing. Fantastic.
So I picked the music video, the number one that was space, travel, space, and travel.
Yep.
So I thought travel on a train with crazy visuals outside, synced with the music, reality and fiction, not knowing which is which, is it inside your head or not, bounded reality versus free mind, and also scary.
Okay, fantastic.
Right. There's this song. It was number 3. Was like the writer's block creative first aid kit.
Yep.
Yep. I have an idea for a flyer to promote the gig, the concert, which would be like, you know, those empty pill capsules that you buy. Like, yeah, the flyer would be inside and just go around venues and distribute everywhere. Just lay around toilets, tables, wherever. Yeah, that would be the flyer. It would be inside. Yeah, of course, yeah. We did that in the nights in Brazil and it worked really well. I want to repeat that in Europe.
Awesome.
I went for merch and also the same playlist. So the writer's creative block and the mood was indulgent. So the idea was sort of a custom set of noise cancelling headphones in collaboration with a niche brand. So not for everyone, but a really specific targeted group that you can use to listen to the song while working and completely blocked off the rest of the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
You could also not even make the headphones, but just make like a page and pretend they're on sale, but make them like $400,000. No one buys them, but it's like ways to, and just tell that story about blocking off the whole world. Okay.
My idea was very similar to the first one, but I was thinking more about libraries and coffee shops where people normally work.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I guess one of the ideas I had was about merge journey into outer space, meditative but also indulgent, like USB sticks are super small, so maybe you could have one in a kind of gemstones don't need to be expensive, so you can make a USB stone, but it's in a stone that has kind of the colors and the glitter and kind of meditative object vibe.
That's awesome.
Well, I think my best idea was already also private listenings at planetariums. So, and concert tours at planetariums.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff with planetariums. But also other ideas that came up was because there is this idea that from Abi that, okay, there's maybe some places where he's not getting into because, like, for example, more dance-oriented playlists or stuff. But for example, if he did a remix EP, which could be like came out of a contest, but also have some invited artists that are emergent but growing.
Yeah.
He could have like an IDM, like intelligent dance music remix from Fatalovic, and techno remix, for example, and something like a trip hop remix, and that could place his music in places that he kind of wants to also be.
Yeah.
But yeah. Like
yeah. How do you feel about all these ideas? Feels pretty good?
Feels pretty good, yeah. Special.
Okay, so what we do now is I'm going to recap these ideas. We're going to do 2 minutes on the clock, so even less time than before, and you're going to take one of these ideas and just build on it and just try and make it better, and bringing in any elements that you can think of. So I'm going to go through each of them again. As I go through them, just think about the one that you want to focus on. You're only going to focus on that idea. So we have special tours, so a tour in areas that people usually work, so things, and things that are spacey, so areas like planetariums, churches, museums, and people can either work or they can chill out. You have relaxing tea, you have meditation, that kind of programming. A tour is a road trip with pop-up shows along the way. You can have different singers and meditation and dance programming. You choose the singers in each pop-up as a contest on social media, and these are sunset shows. An anti-gravity live show where you use the footage for a music video. A music video shot on a train using the crazy visuals that you see along the way, where the viewer is blurred of reality versus fiction, what's in your head and what's real is visual on screen. Promoting a show using empty pill capsules with flyers inside, and you drop these all around venues that you want to play. Custom noise cancelling headphones in collaboration with a niche brand that you can listen to the song and completely block off the rest of the world. Doing shows in areas where people work, so libraries, coffee shops, etc. A merch range using gemstones, so things that are usually meditative objects, or doing a remix EP with emerging IDM trip hop artists to expand where the music is in other areas. So just choose one of those, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes on the clock. Try to choose somebody else's idea, not your own, and just flesh that out. So so think about one of those ideas, and then think about what would that look like instead of it being a music video shot on a train. What would that concept look like if it was a merch? Or instead of thinking about the tour in libraries and workspaces, what would that look like if it was a music video? And just try to expand the different, taking the idea or the kernel of the idea and then thinking about it as a different promotional tactic. And I give you 2 minutes to do that.
I can't remember all the options.
Okay, so these are the options down here. Get them on halfway. Okay, we have about 20 seconds left. All right. Now again, we're going to go around in the room and share. Who wants to start, Greta?
So I got inspired by the stone idea.
Yep.
And then I extended it in two ways. So once, because it reminded me of an exhibition or installation that Marina Abramovic made in Brazil, I think. There were stones. And so we could like play around this idea, but people could come and there would be different kind of stones that people can just touch and smell and have real contact. But once you get closer to them, you have headphones and you can listen to different tracks of the artist, no? And you can spend there as much time as you want, just like meditative contact with the stone. And then I thought of another thing, which is like, you have those places that are known for having special energy, like in Krakow, it's for example the castle, that they believe it's a chakram, and then people come there to get the energy. And on those places, all around in nature or in cities, you would have QR codes that allow you to connect to that song again, and you can be there and meditate and listen to that song.
Awesome. I also got inspiration from the gemstone. I went crazy on merch. So the idea was to get a gemstone engraved with a QR code, so you could wear it as a necklace or something. And so you would pick, according to the specific properties of that gemstone, so that means that you could expand this to more tracks. So depending on the properties of each gemstone, there would be a specific track on it, which you could access by a QR code, and also a concept like for a meditation that you would go through as you were listening to that specific track that was connected to the gemstone. So it's a suggestion of a guided meditation while you're listening to that one track. And yeah, that's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I also took the gemstones idea, so it's...
Did anybody not take the gemstones? And if not, we're just going to start a gemstone company today.
And basically, the gemstones will react to the sound and color and temperature, so you will have like a deeper connection to the gemstones and help you get to a meditative state. Yeah.
Okay, I went to the music video again.
Yeah.
But this time it would be with the flyer idea. It would be that the flyer would like what Alice in Wonderland would take you to a path, and it was kind of take you down the rabbit hole, and everything would start like to melt all around you, and
that's cool.
And you always come back.
What about the gemstones?
What's your gemstone merch extension to that music video?
Not the gemstone. Oh yeah, of course. That was a gem, right? Okay. I like the idea of number 7 for shows, libraries, and coffee shops. But I'd probably do something different. I would do like not on libraries, but something even crazier. Go like for example, like hall of radio stations or TVs, and do like a gig with no permission. Just go to the halls, put everything on, and wait for them to kick us out. That would create a buzz for sure.
So I picked the tour as road trip idea and tried to think of it as a piece of merch again. And I thought it could be interesting to have it as a sort of a tourist guidebook where you invite both tourist journalists and music writers to write about the specific locations that you want to have this tour go by, but also kind of relate them somehow to the song, and then include like a detachable map that lets you do the tour, as well as an audio-visual DVD with music videos recorded in the different locations where the tour passes.
That's awesome.
I went for the headphones idea, and I thought about having an installation in like extremely noisy place. And I think it works also because it's a very cinematic type of music and very associated with trips. So like a train station, it's a very noisy place and very crowded place, but also takes you to the potential of a journey and a trip. Yeah. So having the possibility of associating that like noise cancelling idea with music that evokes the trip and the journey, I think it would be cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I took the remix EP idea, and then I thought you could connect that to a live show. If the different acts that have been remixing, like, and you can play a small like showcase show of each of these acts playing. Of course, that means you need to reach out to people that are, also like you're saying, emerging, but maybe not 5,000 times more famous. But at the same time, could be good to have people that are still a bit more famous than you, because this would like. And then I think you'd probably need to reach out to promoters beforehand. I don't think you need to nail down a venue, but at least so you can tell the people that you are talking to that you have some, that they understand you're onto something and you're working with someone. And then of course once you have people in, then you can nail it down. I was imagining like how would you reach out then? I think it would be then smart to immediately when you reach out to someone also to really easily give them access to the stems, that you're not like, okay, if you think it is a good idea, mail me back and but that, because I think all artists are curious, so if you can download the stems, you might already be like, ooh, and like want to check it out, and that would maybe be a way to get them in. That would be a way to get me in, I guess.
Well, I took the idea of the pop-up road trip tour, mixed it, of course, with the planetariums, and thought about
gemstones.
Yes, no gemstones here, but well, and the idea would be to create a podcast with interviews to each one of the collaborators in this pop-up tour, where also mixed with the music snippets, some sound recordings from outer space, and maybe also parts of interview to an astrophysician, a physicist,
cool.
something like this.
Can I also give an idea?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I got inspired by the gemstones, but something, because I was wondering how much it would cost for me to get gemstones. Yeah. And so instead of gemstones, there could something that's I don't know what it's called. I've forgotten. Maybe one of you could remind me. There's this when you turn the angle at which you're looking at it, the things disappear or come. It's called
like
something.
holographic?
Yes, holographic. Yeah. Something holographic with like maybe I had this image in mind that it's space. And you have these planets, and then you have this ship going through. And maybe some of those planets and that ship could realign or change as you. And it's a small thing, but it's very doable for a release.
Yeah.
And maybe sending it to some artists.
Gatekeepers.
Gatekeepers. And that could be a doable idea.
Yeah. Great work, everybody. Avi, how did that feel listening to all those ideas? How did that feel listening to those ideas?
I think think very mind opening. I've some I couldn't have thought about it myself. I think because it's my own music.
Yeah.
I think it's always a mental block with your own music.
Exactly. Working on other people's projects is so much easier because there's infinite possibility and you don't automatically come in and start going, I can't afford it, I don't know how to do that, I don't know how to produce that, all that stuff. But getting these ideas gave that to you and you're like, actually this is doable, I can do this. So I want to do this for everybody, everyone's projects. And that's what we're going to work on for the rest of today. So we're going to break up into small groups and what I want you to do is go through this exercise yourself for each other and come up with one idea that you want to share and kind of flesh out and present back to the group this afternoon. And the idea or the ambition for that is that we end up listening to a whole bunch of different ideas and all the creativity in the group. And just by hearing what everybody else is working on will give you your own ideas for your own projects. But also getting other people to work on your projects is going to push you as well and to open up your mind of what's possible. So I want to mix up the people who don't have. I mean, you could do it for books, right? Sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Maybe we'll keep in the groups that we worked in yesterday. That sounds good. Or no, we'll switch it up. We'll go. Let's go for Greta. You guys will work together. Gregor, Hugo, Avi. You can go, and yeah, we can go in different areas too. And then, okay, so you guys, off you go. Let me put my shoes on. And so yeah, play the track, do the exercise where you just 3 minutes first, and then just taking the different inputs. So you've got that listener data form, and if you need it, you can just get it from me as well. And so just do that, listen to the tracks and do 3 minutes together, and then 2 minutes. 2 minutes building on each other's ideas and then just move on. Yeah, sure. So that we can just take a picture. Yeah.
So first, check the feedback from yesterday. No?
Yep. And as the artist, choose the ones that you think are most interesting. So in that feedback form, there's going to be lots of different moods that people listed. You're closest to the project, so pick the ones that you think are most interesting to you, and you come up with the 5 playlist ideas and the 5 moods. And then I'll send this document around so you've got the promotion tactics as well. So you can, and you can keep it as music videos, giveaways, context, merch, or you can change that up.
But the list of the songs, I can't seem to find it. I don't know where.
This one? I sent that one.
Yeah, I mean, so that we can listen to them again, or?
You just play it. Like if you, because you'll have it, because you're going out into different groups.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first we were checking feedback from yesterday, then defining like a few 5 promotion tactics, and then have specific ideas about each one of these tactics.
Oh no, just choose just exactly what we just did. So do one round where each of you just chooses whatever promotional tactics you want to work on, and then share them with each other, and then each person take the idea that they like from that, and then just build on it. Yeah. And I would advise that somebody does the taking notes. The artist who's doing the ideas take notes. So if you're working on, say, Greta, you're presenting, then you'll take notes on your own. You'll come up with the playlist ideas, the mood ideas, share the track, yeah. Okay.
So we have 5 minutes in total?
No, you've got until, so we'll break for lunch at 1 or 1:30? What time do you want to break for lunch?
Yeah, like we're starting at 2:30.
Okay, so we'll break for lunch at 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Break for lunch at 1.
So do this for the next 45 minutes, and then, we're gonna mix you guys up together. We'll break for lunch at 1. We'll come back together at 2:30 and we'll share the ideas. So if you guys go first, and then the next group, we're gonna do, who worked together yesterday? It was the you 3, wasn't it?
I went with Hugo and...
Have you guys worked together?
I was with you.
All right. So let's go. Anna, Rita, you go this way. Yeah. Perfect. Let's do that. Sorry.
The three of you.
Yeah.
The four of us.
Yeah.
I didn't make music, so maybe we can recuperate one of.
Okay. Yeah. So you jump in the group of four.
Okay. So
So-
I go with them.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
So it's for, okay.
We already worked together.
That's okay. That's all right. That's all right.
Is it?
You're staying here? No, that's fine. That's fine.
Para cá.